Now, we've heard from Joe Biden's campaign. Let's hear now from the Republicans, from Donald Trump's campaign. I'm joined by Representative Byron Donalds, a Republican US Congressman from Florida. Thanks so much for being with us, Congressman. Really appreciate it. We've been talking there with Kevin Munoz from the Joe Biden campaign, heard about his prep. What is Donald Trump doing just hours out from the beginning of this debate?
Well, look, right now, he knows the issues. He's been on the campaign trail really for months, except for that episode in Lower Manhattan. He's been on the campaign trail talking to the American people. He's been talking with advisors. Donald Trump, his prep has been engagement with everybody across our country, and then hearing from people what's going on in America. Obviously, he's observed it firsthand, watching the news, knowing what's going on in the business world. He's going to come in tonight talking about the issues that are really plaguing our country, what's hurting every man and woman in America, especially the working class men and women of our country.
You mentioned, as you put it, the event in Lower Manhattan that kept him off the campaign trail for a while. That will more than likely come up tonight. How could it not? In a way, it's historic. How is he going to address that? How is he going to convince people that he still has the character to be president, although he's a convicted criminal now?
Well, look, what happened in Lower Manhattan was a travesty of our justice system. And under our rule of law, if you're going to try somebody, you have to actually tell them what they're being accused of. Judge Merchan never did that. Alvin Bragg never did that. How can you actually mount a defense? Even goes way past American criminal law. Now we're talking about common law practices as far back as Magna Carta in 1215. So we believe his constitutional rights were violated. That's number one. So number two, people in America see that this is politically motivated. The only reason Alvin Bragg even brought that case was to interfere with the 2024 presidential election, and the response of the American people by their donation to Donald Trump, record fundraising since that verdict in Lower Manhattan, demonstrates that the American people do not buy it. They know that his rights were violated. Everybody knows it's going to be overturned on appeal, and if everybody knows that, then why would the case come forward in the first place except to interfere with this election?
Well, we won't preempt what's going to happen in a court on appeal, but in terms of talking about what is going to happen tonight, we know that Donald Trump loves an audience. He loves those big rallies and he feeds off the crowd. There won't be an audience today. There will be muted microphones. How's he going to cope with that?
And he's going to be just fine. Don't even worry about it. The better question is, why is there no crowd? That's because Joe Biden cannot have anybody disrupt his train of thought. And this is very important.
Yeah, but
with
respect, Congressman, the Donald Trump campaign agreed to these conditions. Listen, so everyone is in agreement. People had the option not to agree to them, and they did. So, we are where we are, and the conditions tonight are the conditions tonight that have been agreed to by the Trump campaign.
It's important to lay out. These are the conditions laid out by Joe Biden. The question is why. He can't have people in the room who are going to give their response. But Donald Trump agreed to it. He's showing up. He's going to do this debate because, like he's been saying, he'll debate Joe Biden anytime, any place, anywhere, no matter the weather, no matter the conditions. It could be outside in the rain. It could be in the studio. Joe Biden can't do that. And real leaders show up no matter what the venue is, no matter what the parameters are.
Both candidates have very poor unfavorability ratings with the voters. Despite what the polls are showing, we have this concept of double haters this time. What is Donald Trump going to try and say to people that maybe is hopeful or positive to encourage them to vote for him?
Well, he's been doing that on the campaign trail this entire time, really the last 2 years. He has been focused on the American people. He's been focused on the forgotten man and woman in America. That's been his focus the entire time. You got to understand, with Donald Trump, a lot of the criticism, a lot of the chaos, that's coming from media-driven narratives, Democrat-driven narratives. You can go from the Steele dossier and Russia, and all that stuff, all proven to be lies and things that were manufactured to distract the American people from the right choices in front of them. But what you have in this presidential election, very simple. Two men have been president. They both have track records. Who did the better job? It's without question, it's Donald J. Trump.
You're talking about making the right choices there. The choice we haven't heard from the former President Trump yet is his choice for vice president. You're on the long list, we're led to believe.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has also said his VP pick is here at the debate in Atlanta. Is there anything you want to tell us? Is it you?
No, not going to tell you anything about that. Look, President Trump.
That's not a no.
He's going to make a decision. I think the key thing is the list of people on that list, any one of them will be a significant upgrade over Kamala Harris. All of us want to do one thing. We want Donald Trump back in the White House. We want to win this November, and we want to save our country, get our country back on track.
All right. Congressman Byron Donalds from Florida, living in the same state as the president currently is, making his way from here to Atlanta. Thanks so much for joining us on BBC News. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.